Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyam Devaah Bhadram Pashyema Akshabhiryajatra Sthirairangaistushtvagum Sastanubhi Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti nastarkshyo Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Nantaf pragyam na bahish pragyam na ubhayataf pragyam na pragyanaganam na pragyam na pragyam adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintyam avyapadeshyam ekatma pratyayasaram prapancha upashamam shantam shivam advaitam chaturtham manyante sa atma savikyeyaha. So today we both resume our vichara on the seventh mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad, and with the resumption of the vichara we also summarize it. So today is the last class on the seventh mantra, number 48. We have spent 48 classes on this very important mantra. And my hope is that we can both, you and I, can base our understanding of ourselves, our life, and who we are, base it on this mantra, because it is an important mantra. Shastras, all the commentators say this is a very important mantra, which summarizes the state of our being, what we need to do, what we need to think about to grasp the final moksha that we are all seeking. So what this mantra points out is, it enables us to see, it asks us to focus on the following. It says that all beings, and if we're just talking about human beings for the time being, all human beings should be seen to consist of two, I hesitate to use the word segments or parts. Yeah, I think the word aspects is good. Two aspects. All of us consist of two aspects. One is a changing aspect, and the other is a non-changing aspect. And the inability to distinguish between two is the cause of our life's problems. And we are born into this mix-up, this inability, this aviveka. In Sanskrit terms, aviveka, viveka rahita. So this is what we need to do. This is what this mantra points out. This is what Shastra points out. This is a very core mantra which says, listen, the moment you are able to understand that you are made up of something which comes and goes, and something which is you that does not come and go, which is constant, which is the very essence of fullness, completeness, of infinity. The moment you see this distinction, you are done. This is what we need to do. And our life consists of wandering around seeking freedom, and ultimately we graduate into, we become mature enough to see this fact, this distinction between the changing and the unchanging. And interestingly enough, first of all, this is not visible to us. It is not, we don't come across this easily. So with Ishvara's grace, with God's grace, we somehow stumble upon this fact. And it is more likely if you are born in the environment where this is discussed, but less likely outside, but still doesn't matter. The key thing is to understand this fact. Well, the funny thing is that even after you have been introduced to this amazing fact, we don't get it. We don't really we're not totally convinced of it. We keep on leading our lives, wandering around, as we saw in the key markers of Vedanta. We keep on going around in circles, and life after life, time after time. Even after we've been told, this is the interesting, funny part. But it is true. What is truth cannot be washed away. It cannot be willed away. This is the truth. This is what we have to do. And you know, we In Vedanta, we talk about sadhana chatushtaya, viveka vairagya shatka sampatti mumukshutvam. And then in Gita, there's talked about amanitvam, adambhitvam, all those kinds of things. What does it really mean? The essence of all of this sadhana means you need to grow out of being caught up in the trivial parts of life. This is what it is. You need to grow out of child's play. This is what we do. This is very normal. This is nothing unusual. Because as you can see, when the children are growing up, you observe them, they are fascinated by things that are appropriate at that level of their lives. Simple things. Like balloons, marbles, cars, little toy cars, possessions. This is what it is. Because they are at that level where their minds, the growth of their minds is appropriate to the kind of simplicity that is presented to them. Very normal. But eventually, as you know, the children have to be weaned away, to be told by parents, no, stop playing. It's time to study. And studying is not easy because it's a challenge in the beginning. It's much easier to just play with toys and dolls. But it has to be done because toys and dolls don't last. They're not, they don't really give you the kind of support and freedom, health that you need. You need to know about food, you need to know about your security, about money, all those kinds of things. Vedanta is very similar to that. This is a very important thing to really, we miss it. So, going back to this, something I said earlier, that it is very funny that despite being told that you consist of two things, the changing and the unchanging, and so unchanging is the real thing, should you not be thinking about that? You're more concerned about the changing things, which is like dolls and toys. Should you not grow up from it? But we don't normally. This is exactly what happens. You can study Vedanta books, Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishads, and Prakarana Grantha all your life. But you're not able to reach what the premise of Vedanta is. Why? So here, the acharyas say it is simply because you need to give up your fascination with the trivial things of life. Very clear, simple is what we have to do. Well, no, but then I have my family and I've got friends and I have places to go and I'm busy and I don't know. Okay, all right, do it. But then don't complain. Life is not treating me right. I don't know what's happening, what is going to happen to me. So if you really want to have, you really want to you need to have a consistency between what you want and how you go about it. So this is why both Viveka and Vairagya are important. Because Vairagya is the very clear sign. Lack of Vairagya. Vairagya means that you don't care about things of the world. They are secondary to you. You want to seek freedom. You want to seek God. This is what is the most important thing. To understand Paramatma. The understanding of the self and the understanding of the Paramatma is one and the same. As we have seen in our previous classes, you cannot have Paramatma without the Paramatma being yourself. Because you're denying the presence of Paramatma. You're saying he's not infinite. He doesn't touch me. I don't know where he is. Foolishness. So the seeking of Paramatma, the seeking of the self, needs to finally dawn on you. You know, it's interesting. It's just because in the talks by Swami Akhandananda in all of the books that he has and so on, because he also talks to people who are very sincere, very sadhakas. Not only is talking to families that are just starting out in understanding, but who have gone deep into the study of Vedanta. And they are still not quite there yet. Why? So he says that, you know, it's interesting. There's a lot of things here, and I'll come back to the seventh mantra in a minute. There needs to be as I said earlier, a viveka between things that don't change, which is you that doesn't change, and you that changes. That viveka needs to be done. This is the crux of the whole thing. In doing this viveka is also of various levels. There is a simple viveka in the beginning. You need to do that. Then you become, it's kind of like, you know, when you are becoming an expert in, in understanding colors. Then it is easy to tell a child, this is yellow, this is green. So this is a viveka. You have names and so on. Then within the green, there is shades of green. There is bluish green. There is pure green. There's some other colors mixed in with it, but it still looks green. Gray. These are the modern colors in cars. Gray, green. So that level of viveka keeps going up. So in Vedanta, there is a beginning viveka. And that is Drikdrishya viveka. But please, do you not see This is very simple. It's just like telling the child, this is yellow, this is green. Don't you see that the seer is different from the seen? I can see that, and not that hard to do. That what happens to the seen has nothing to do with the seer. Okay, yeah, I can see that. This is beginning Viveka. The advanced Viveka, shades of green as we saw earlier, the advanced Viveka, which is what we need to do, is to distinguish between the false I and the real I. I tell you, what I'm just telling you, this is a lifetime of study, a lifetime of really thinking about it, gleaning points and so on. This is what I have to do. This is what my challenge is. And not only a challenge, but something that I can see now. It's really giving me results. And that is to really understand that the very advanced Viveka, a challenging Viveka, not easy to do, and ultimately the most beneficial Viveka is not to do the Viveka between the world and you, but between the false understanding of who you are and the real understanding of who you are. And I'm telling you, this is where when I read books and texts and lectures and by Swami Akhandananda over and over again, of his lifetime of teaching and advising and struggling with how people's questions have to be answered and so on, is you are too comfortable with the false I. This is lack of growth. You are comfortable with it. This is me. I know I've got issues in my life, but I'm doing the best I can. And all this real I and Vedanta, I'm not sure, I have to think about it. Maybe it sounds good, but I don't know. I don't know. Doubts. And so this is the issue. The real growth was a result of all, shamadama, uparama, titiksha, viveka, vairagya, all those kinds of things, is this. I cling to my life as a false I. This is me. And the false I means what? False I means it has a beginning and an end. It is full of sukha dukkha, all problems. All problems occur to the false I. Karma, kartritvam, I am the doer. I am the sufferer. This is my lot, what can I do? This is my life. I'm doing the best I can. So this whole life that I have created in terms of my individual personality is the false I. And going back to this seventh mantra, this is what it is pointing out. Na antaf pragyam, na bahish pragyam, na vayataf pragyam, na pragyanaganam, na pragyam, na pragyam, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam. Up to this point. This is the false I. Why is it the false I? How can you say, what is the falsity about it? So this is what we have to do. It is false because it's changing. It comes and goes. It is subject to mrityu, death. It depends on the world for its existence. It is full of problems, etc., etc. This is the falsity of it. You mean there is something more than that? So this is what Viveka is. There is something more than that. And that you are not yet cognizant of. And you should be, because that's you. You are ignoring something about yourself which you have never considered before. And that fact is Paramatma is you. You know, it's interesting. So there are two strands of the teaching of Vedanta. You know, there are many strands, but in terms of this explanation, two strands. One is Tvam, you, and the other is Tat, which is Paramatma. One is Jivatma, the other one is Paramatma. These are the two strands. And the premise of Vedanta is the uniqueness of Vedanta, really speaking. The very unique characteristic of Vedanta, which you cannot find anyplace else. Because everything has something unique. Every teaching, every principle has what is called asadharana karanam, something which is different from others. And that is that, listen, you and Paramatma are essentially the same. From an essential standpoint, the two of you are the same. But as we have pointed out, that a sentence meaning can only be clear if the individual word meanings are clear. So if the word meaning is not clear, the sentence meaning is also not clear. So we have seen this example that supposing you tell someone pani lao, and I'm talking in Hindi, pani lao, mujhe zara pani dena. Now, if you don't understand what pani is water. Please bring me some water, I'm thirsty. Then you don't understand what pani is. You cannot understand the sentence until you understand what pani is. So Tattvamasi is exactly like that. That you don't quite understand what Tvam is. You are only familiar with the false I. So the two strands of Vedanta are Tvampada Vichara. So this is one thing. Okay, leave that aside for a minute. The second strand is Tatpada Vichara. So the Tatpada Vichara is very, very, very different and very necessary. This is where a resort to Paramatma, Sharanagati, this is where I'm saying I see this among students, that I am just doing self-study. I'm just, and Swami, I've told you that Swami Akhandananda says, I see this every day. That really Brahma Vidya is the only thing, you don't need anything else. Just Atma Vidya or Brahma Vidya. False. Up to a large portion you have to understand the working of the Paramatma. Why? This is important. The reason is your capability, individual capability, Tvampada Vichara, your capability will not be properly understood or grasped or accepted how you have created the whole world. This is what I see this kind of, and if I read study Swami Akhandananda's discourses, all these extremely significant, important facts are not bandied about. They are not declared, oh, you've got to do this, you do this. They are hinted at. All like a secret. But they are there. You cannot ignore it. It wasn't until I really started to study his thoughts, his methodology, his explanation of the same Upanishads. I'm finding it out in the Shveta Shotara Upanishad, which I'm finishing now. And I am really anxious to really reveal the contents of that. Confirm it. Confirm what? Confirm the fact that each one of us has created the whole world. We have been doing it forever. No one else is responsible. And it dawned on me finally. I think I've mentioned this to you in some different ways. All this time I used to think that my parents chose me. Swami Akhandananda says, no. You chose your parents. How is that possible? It is not until you start studying and these are presented in a very subtle way. They're not bandied about. They're small hints, but are very much there. And now the whole picture is beginning to really become complete for me. Very consistent. So the Tvampada Vichara, going back to, has to be supplemented with Tatpada Vichara for the following reason. This is very important. Study of Paramatma and how it operates is very important. Just having self-knowledge will not solve your problem. Why not? Even though this is the truth. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. If I know that, then I'm done. Okay, try doing it. You know what will happen is you yourself will not accept it. Anytime you have a problem and you say, I don't know, I'm not Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Because why am I having headaches? Why did I fall down and break my ankle? What's happening? How do I get out of this? Health problems, emotional issues. Your doubts will engulf you. You'll not be able to come out of it. And the antidote to this is Tatpada Vichara. Because by the study of Paramatma, you understand my goodness, my God. This is an appropriate time to say, oh my God. You know, we trivialize it by saying, oh my God, OMG, OMG. It should be reserved for these kinds of things. Oh my God. This is God's ability in me that has made me create this enormous world. And that's not as important as the second part of that, which is because it is the God-given ability for me to create this enormous edifice. I have the ability to dissolve it too. So as we were saying in the last class, in the key markers of Vedanta, that really speaking, if you begin to see the extreme similarity between how I project the world and how Ishvara projects the world, how he looks at it, but it is not a problem for him, but it is a problem for me. Our methodology is the same. We're making a small mistake, and if we correct it, we're done. Similarly here, it says, you are unnecessarily fascinated with this trivial world. You understand that you created it and you not only can dissolve it, you do dissolve it. You don't understand that you dissolve it every day. You have the capability. Dissolve it. This is pointed out by who you really are, the unchanging, That starts with Ekatma Pratyaya Saram, as we have seen. Starts with Prapancha Upashamam, continues on with Shantam, and ends with Shivam. So here Swami Akhandananda points out that these three words are very interesting because three words being Prapancha Upashavam, Shantam and Shivam. So Prapancha Upashamam and Shantam is relative understanding. Shivam is absolute understanding. Let's see how. What do we mean by relative versus absolute? So this is the wisdom of, I begin to see Swami Akhandananda's wisdom of having a very clear vision of what is happening. And then when he couples it with specific words in the mantra, he says, this is what it means. So, it's interesting. I find, that's true even for me. I'm just a student of Vedanta. That as my understanding of myself and the world grows, then the same words that I had studied earlier at a lesser level of understanding reveal their deeper meaning to me, which they didn't do before. Now if I study the Bhagavad Gita, I can say, yes. So this is what would be called aparoksha anubhuti. It's not paroksha anubhuti. It's not something which is written in some place, but I can see it more and more. So in Prapancha Upashamam, Shantam and Shivam, the Prapancha Upashamam is relative peace in the waking state, Jagrat Avastha, because all these are connected. Antav Pragyam is the dream state, Bahish Pragyam is the waking state. Pragyana Ghanam, Pragyam, Apragyam is the Sushupti, is the sleep state. Similarly here, Prapancha Upashamam pertains to the waking state, the Jagrata Avastha. How? Because if you understand to a certain degree that you are the unchanging adhisthana for the waking state, for the dream state and the sleep state, if you understand that, if you are exposed to that truth, then even during Jagrata Avastha, even though it is the understanding is not complete, even so, in the waking state, what is the word that I'm looking for? The poignancy, yes, the poignancy of your sukha dukkha will be less. They won't be as sharp. Now your understanding is not complete yet. So it is relative. This is what I'm saying. The prapancha upashamam and shantam are relative. So, but still they are very useful. Recently one of the, and I see this from time to time, one of the students had written to me that there was a kind of a very potentially sad event in her life that she had to go through. And she wrote to me that I was able to go through that without really breaking apart, it didn't break me. And it was unpleasant, but it happened and it's gone. I'm better, the person is better. And it is because of an understanding of Vedanta that she has been studying for a while. Exactly. This is what I'm pointing out. Prapancha upashamam. So prapancha upashamam means that there is a cessation of the poignancy of the problems in life. You feel I'll be okay, it's okay, I have to go through that and so on. I've been going through a lot of health issues, but they're getting better. And I feel, they come and go, that's okay. This is prapancha upashamam. Shantam is a little higher level, which actually here pertains to the swapnavastha, to the dream state. So it is a higher level because in the dream state you don't have any direct problems of contact with the world, but you have memories of the world that still bother you. So the shantam is the ability that even memories don't bother you. And this, by the way, is very, very important. By thinking about swapnavastha, looking at the dream state, it is not proper to simply look at it as an isolated. This is also part of what I have really learned a lot from the deeper study of Vedanta. Swapnavastha is present all the time. Anytime you have some mental issues based on past memories, that's a swapnavastha. This is why in the last class, I had given you a kind of a suggestion for a sankalpa, that you begin to look at your life more as a dream. This is also very useful to see. There's a lot of backing to it, and we will get into that hopefully in some time. Anyway, this word shantam also is relative, but deeper, because not only do you insulate yourself, that's the word I think is a good word. Not only do you insulate, here I think this is a very good example that if you're not wearing shoes, you are very vulnerable to sharp objects on the earth that you're walking on. But if you were to wear shoes, the same sharpness of the earth doesn't bother you as much or at all. So in that sense, an understanding of the self is like prapancha upashamam. You insulate yourself from the problems of everyday life. Shantam is you insulate yourself from the problems of memories. So, there are two kinds of issues that one can have. You can be physically, you can have a cold and a cough. There is not a question of a memory, it is really bothering you because you cannot talk, you cannot breathe, You're coughing, you have fever, like I'm coughing. So this is, in a way, it is prapancha upashamam. But then, if you were to remember something that bothers you, that is shantam. Okay, these two are relative. Then comes Shivam. Shivam is a very important word. And here, Swami Akhandananda goes into a great detail. This is in, I forget the page number. Did I note it down? No, I didn't. For those of you that have the Hindi book on Mandukya Karika, he goes into a lot of detail about the word Shivam. He says, in a structural way, Prapancha Upashamam pertains to Jagrat Avastha, Shantam pertains to Swapna Avastha, Shivam pertains to Sushupti Avastha. When I first read it, I said, how? What is that? What does that mean? Goes into great explanation. What he says is, listen, Ishvara has made the sleep state as an amazing proof. That's the only way I would say that. It's an amazing proof. It's a proof, but an extraordinary proof. And the extraordinariness of the proof means that imagine the mithyatvam of the world, the unreality of the world. No matter what happens, you're not bothered by it at all during sleep. This is a very important thing. Because if the problems of the world even had a small reality, you can say, yeah, they're unreal because they come and go, but they do have some reality. No, they don't. Because, as you say that, supposing you murdered 10 people during the day, imagine the thought, the action, the experience of murdering someone. You're whatever, anyway. I'm just picking out something which is very obnoxious. When that person goes to sleep, his memory is gone, his guilt is gone, everything is gone. So Shivam represents absolute insulation from problems, not relative insulation like prapancha upashamam and shantam. Absolute. This is when I really understood. But now there is a very interesting issue. The issue is, you cannot enjoy something until you know it. This is a very important thing. Only when you know it do you experience something. and you don't know you are Shivam in the Sushupti Avastha, even though you are completely insulated, but you don't know it. But if you were to follow the teaching, this is what is called aparoksha sakshat aparoksha jnanam. This is what is mean sakshat aparoksha jnanam. Directly knowing that I am Shivam. Because the Shivam doesn't change. There is only one Shiva. So here Swami Akhandananda actually spends a lot of time. He says that the word Shiva is described in various ways for various reasons. So, for example, it can be part of the Rudra, Samharakarta, the one who destroys. It is often described as Saguna, Sakara, Gangadhara, Nilakantha, Utpatti, Sthiti, Samhara, Nigraha, Anugraha. This goes into a lot of things. He says all of that is associated with the word Shiva. But the real meaning of Shiva is, it is Shuddha Swarupa. It is pure, it is peaceful peace, which is you, unchanging you. Once you understand it, you're done. Then the last word in this is Advaitam. Shivam Advaitam. Advaitam means the Shivam, it cannot be limited by anything. It is not, it doesn't have a competitor. Dvaitam na vidyate yasya. There is no duality. Duality means, plurality means something which is equally there with you. This is where the understanding of the real and its copy comes in. That what you see is your copy that does not violate who you are. You look at your copies of the world. So this is where the understanding of how a dream is created, how a movie experience is created. It is created by, as we have seen, the Adhisthana and Prakashakaha, that you are the constant screen on which changes are made. And you are the constant light which is lighting up a scene in front of you. And the scene in front of you is your copy. The light that falls on things is your light. This needs to be understood. And at first we don't accept it. What, me? This is where the Tatpada Vichara is very important. That the ability of Ishvara to work through you in creating this samsara, and an understanding that this samsara is nothing but Shivam with Advaitam. Advaita means there is no second Shiva. All the other small things are nothing but it does not disturb the fact that you are a complete being. This needs to be understood. Chaturtham manyante. Somehow we don't understand that. We think that that moksha is a state of being. This is what means chaturtham manyante. Chaturtham manyante means that we see the state. We can understand. Somebody says, okay, do you understand the Jagrat avastha? Do you understand the different avasthas, the different states? Yes. So what about moksha? Moksha means that I want to have the experience of being free. Yes, that is another avastha. That is another avastha. That is a new state. And this is where so much of gobbledygook, so much of misuse of Vedanta is done, where you say, you keep on meditating and you stay with me, be my student, and you will get it one day that you will reach some kind of a state. This is what is called Chaturtham. It's a different state, fourth state. I remember that I was listening to a TV program with Deepak Chopra. This is about 10 years back. I don't know where he is now, but very popular person. People used to follow him on PBS and so on. So there was a local newscaster. And I remember seeing, I was saying, let me see what he says. So this TV person in Bay Area, locally here, was asking Deepak Chopra, sir, so what is this moksha that people talk about? And what kind of awareness, how do you feel? So he was saying, moksha is a very special awareness. It's simple saying, my God, that is wonderful. How do you do that? Oh, there's a lot of work involved. You have to do a lot of meditation. Anyway, I was saying, here's a person who is misusing. This is not what Vedanta says. Chaturtham na manyante. He says what is considered to be the fourth state. No. It is you as the very basis of all the states. It's not a state. It is Shivam, Advaitam. So here, we'll end with the promise and the premise of Vedanta, which says that, listen, if you were to know that you and Paramatma are the same. And the Tatpada Vichara is important because you don't know how powerful you are. Because all of Ishvara's ability, I'm just repeating what I said earlier to make this point. You don't understand that all of the ability of Ishvara for you to create and to dissolve is in you. There's no difference. And the proof is given both in the in the dream state and in the deep sleep state, as we said earlier. So it ends, this is the premise of Vedanta, which says, listen, if you were to know who you really are, none of the problems of life will bother you. In fact, they will be rendered completely gone as it is in deep sleep. This is the state of Shiva. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad it says, Atmanam chet vijaniyat ayam asmeti purushaha kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusvanjaret. Beautiful, very important verse. Atmanam chet vijaniyat means if you were to understand who you really are. Shivam Shantam Advaitam. That I am, and Advaita means I am Asmi. What this is nothing but, this whole world is nothing but my own manifestation. Don't blame anybody else. Don't blame Ishvara. Don't blame anybody. It is your own projection. You are the light of the projection. Atmanam chet vijaniyat. Ayam asmeti purushaha. Purushaha means the one who is the real person, which is you. Kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusvanjaret. Why would you go after anything else? These has no reality to it. So this is the premise of Vedanta. And this is what we have to really understand, that this whole ball game of life is to really see the Paramatma in me. And if you were to know that, if you have the ability to, because this is the truth, if you were to know that, you have fulfilled the purpose of taking a life, of taking this human life and going through this whole thing. So with that, we close off the 7th mantra. I think that there is a Karika on the 7th mantra, and we will follow Gaudapada Acharya ji's teaching on that in the next few classes. And then with that, both the Mandukya and the Karika are complete in the Agama Prakarana, and we will see where we are and what we should do. Okay. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. And we will follow Gaudapada Ji's Good to see you all, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Hari Om.